This video is brought to you by Loot Crate. Head today to lootcrate.com/reviewtechusa and enter the code RTU to save 10% on any subscription plan. Skip it up and that up. Capcom. You made my chest hair wither. If you look at it, it's diminishing by the second. So we all know this isn't new news, but it kind of made my ass turn red, so I feel like talking about it. That Dead Rising 3 is coming to the PC. That in and of itself isn't bad news. I was pretty excited about this. I have it for the Xbox One. I will admit I haven't had time to play it that much. It's 720p. The frame rate is around 30 frames per second. I saw some videos online where it dips to like the teens in some spots. So I'm looking, Dead Rising 3 is a game that's right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to the PC version. I'll just sell my Xbox One version. And I'm looking forward to better visuals. I can play the game in full 1080p. It's going to have better textures, better lighting, everything, the whole nine. And most importantly, I thought it was going to be able to be played at well over 30 frames per second, at like 60 frames per second. No, it's not going to be. The PC version of Dead Rising 3 is going to be capped at 30 frames per second. This is what Dead Rising 3 producer John Earhart had to say about it. He did a Twitch TV stream during E3, and someone from NeoGAF basically transcribed what he said. This is what he had to say on Dead Rising 3. We're not going to stop you from uncapping the frame rate and seeing what your hardware can really do with this game, but we can't guarantee the experience because we just don't really know what's going to happen. Ooh, maybe your computer will implode if you play the game at 60 frames per second. He continues, you may see some weird stuff with physics, some weird stuff with zombies, but if you want to mess with it and see what you can see, we'll totally let you do that. I really don't believe you're losing anything by playing at 30 frames per second. If you want, feel free to uncap it, but it's going to be wild and crazy. Ooh, wild, like, what the fuck? What's going to happen? And to add even more insult to injury, one of the anonymous programmers, supposedly from Dead Rising 3, posted on NeoGAF, and he had a lot to say about it. This is what he had to say. It's shitty to be capped at 30 frames per second, but Dead Rising 3 on PC still feels like the definitive version of the game. It's not going to drop frames much if your hardware is good, which is more than the Xbox One version can say for itself. And you can uncap it at your own risk. The main problem with our engine is that it's custom and in-house, but we don't have tons of resources. And Dead Rising 3 was developed over a generation transition to boot. All these factors together mean that we can get games out the door and design them mostly how we like, but the code incurs technical debt. So stuff like this happens when something like 60 frames per second isn't considered in advance, but the engine is too hard to change. You have to basically rewrite large components, then push out extra QA. I'm guessing the higher-ups don't think PC is enough of a priority, ding ding ding, for an expensive drive like that. So there it is. I still to this day get messages asking, Rich, what's the downsides of PC gaming? Should I go over to PC gaming? And there it is, you're looking at it. Sloppy ports. It happens all the time on PC. Now, I will say that even a sloppy port, in 99% of the cases, is still a definitive version compared to the console versions of the game, because you could just max out the settings, and even if it's a sloppy port from the consoles, it still looks better. But yeah, sloppy ports. They don't take the engines and maximize them for your PC hardware. They don't, you have games like this one that are capped at 30 frames per second. Need for Speed Rivals was capped at 30 frames per second. The original Dark Souls was crap on the PC. I mean, the modding community improved it, but it was crap on the PC. And Watch Dogs, there's the positive side of PC gaming that kind of ties in with Watch Dogs, was gimped on the PC, and it looks virtually no better pretty much than it does on the consoles. But speaking of Watch Dogs, the positive aspects of PC is that there is a big-ass modding community. And Watch Dogs, I don't know if it's really considered a mod. Someone found they unlock the settings that makes the game look like it did during E3 2012. That's the cool side of PC gaming. That won't happen on the Xbox One and PS4 versions. Those games are going to look and remain the same. But Watch Dogs on the PC is going to get prettier. Another example is The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. There's so many mods. That game looks night and day compared to what it did when originally vanilla Skyrim for the PC. There's so many mods, it almost looks pretty much photorealistic if you know how to utilize the mods. It's another downside, is that you got to kind of get into how to utilize the mods. Steam has made using mods much easier, but you know, it's not completely just plug and play like consoles. That's why people prefer consoles. But that's, you know, this just kind of ties into the downside of PC gaming, is that a lot of publishers and developers just kind of use it as a cash grab. They'll just port the game over, especially now because the Xbox One and PS4 are virtually PCs. They're slightly gimped PCs, but PCs. A lot of times you're just going to see code dumps, almost code dumps, onto the PS4, and boom, there you go. You got your cash grab. It's a sloppy port, and now you can't play the game any more than 30 frames per second. And I will say, I am not a hardware or software engineer, but Capcom, you're full of shit. I cannot imagine it being that so tough to make Dead Rising 3 run at 60 frames per second, even if it took you like a couple extra months to do it. I'm sure me and many other PC gamers would have waited for the game Dead Rising 3 to be able to run at 60 frames per second on the PC. But I really think you're just full of crap. You wanted to make more money off of Dead Rising 3, so you just slapped code over to the PC and you're going to just dump the game on Steam. Hopefully the modding community can clean it up a little bit. We'll see what happens. But there you go, folks. That's the downside. For everyone looking to get into PC gaming, there's plenty of positives to it, but that's one of the big negatives, is sloppy ports. Anyway, even avid PC gamers will tell you that. All right, folks, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one. All right, folks, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one.
This video is brought to you by Loot Crate.
Really?
Head to lootcrate.com/reviewtechusa.